The protagonist Nomura moves to a new school due to expulsion from the previous one. As soon as he arrived, he immediately noticed that the students here were carrying weapons. A guy approached Nomura and advised him to be quiet. The girls of the teacher are already discussing the dossier of the newcomer because they'd expelled him because of a big fight with 40 people. As soon as he entered the classroom, swords were immediately pointed at him. Nomura didn't know about this school. Teachers say that this school was originally created for girls. Soon, due to the appearance of guys, the girls were allowed to carry weapons because they were not comfortable. The guys also needed to paint. Nomura does not agree with such rules and defends his opinion. He escapes by jumping out the window. One of Rin's teachers, after chasing him, grapples with him. Even though she was with a sword, Nomura fights back. The girl inflicts damage on his face and he puts on special gloves. They both have excellent fighting skills. Nomura wins and accidentally kisses Rin when another girl pushes him. The teacher goes berserk and promises to castrate him. The school rests on the so-called 5 blades. These are the teachers. They argue over who will take care of Nomura's upbringing. In the dorms, Nomura became friends with Masco, who approached him in the schoolyard. He says that here you can order things by adding them to the list and putting them in the mailbox. Also, Nomura must get all the seals from the 5 blades. Rin in her dorm blames Nomura for being vulgar and at the same time enjoys the kiss. He abruptly enters her window. He came to apologize with candy. As a result of the conversation, Rin passes out due to embarrassment and Nomura catches her. But the girl catches them in a vulgar pose and thinking about the bad cause an alarm. Choka and Nono, also from the 5 blades, want to fight Nomura to justify Rin. Choka with a whip accidentally hits Nono and this action results in a defeat. After meeting with Nomura, Rin gives him his seal. The next day, when everyone comes to class, everyone looks at him with fear and Rin becomes his taskmaster. Rin is much gentler with Nomura while they are alone. The rest of the sisters suspect Rin of being close to him. Mary, also his sister, fought Rin over this. At this time, Nomura notices one girl who finished him off in that fight because of which he was expelled from his previous school. She disappears from view while he is distracted. She also promised to fight him. Mary caught up with him after defeating Rin and fights him. She stabs a lot with her sword, but Nomura wins with the book. Mary also gives up her seal. On the square, Nomura sees a beaten Masco. It was Hanasaka. She offers Nomura to go through her blood festival and then she will give him her seal. Rin and Mary also stay with him. The first test was sumo. Nono and Choka came to the square. Wearing sumo belts, Nomura entered the arena first. His opponent turned out to be Hanasaki's bear Kyobo. With his blows, he tried to push him out, but in the end, lifting him up, untied his belt and thereby won. Hanasaka was furious and declared war. Hanasaka announces the end of the blood festival. It remains only to climb onto the roof, on the way to which 34 people will stand. For the sake of his friend and seal, Nomura agrees despite Rin and Mary's reproaches. While they were changing, Nono and Choka went first. Satori, another of the 5 supreme blades, also helps them, but takes a dislike to Nomura. Finally reaching the rooftop, Kyobo and Hanasaka fight against Rin and Nomura. The bear turns out to have boxing skills and Hanasaka uses shuriken. Kyobo was defeated and behind him was his mistress. The next day, all the girls looked at him with admiration because his battle with the bear was broadcast throughout the school. The girls of the 5 blades are arguing about how to dismiss this crowd of fans because they themselves are jealous. The next day, accompanying him again, they search him as usual. After finding a vulgar photo of him with Satori in his pocket, they are furious. It turns out that she herself planted this false photo in order to cut down with the horse their relationship with Rin and Mary. Nomura wants to replay this situation in his favor and ends up in a torture room for girls with the help of Hanasaki. It was to infiltrate the women's dorm. There inside, Kyobo's child, Domo, saves them because the bear turned out to be a girl. They found Satori in the bathhouse on alert. Her assistant Misogi was with her. It turns out that Kusuo helped them, and the night he let Satori into the dorm, she fed him pills and took this photo. Satori was without clothes, and this did not allow Nomura to concentrate. They split into 2, and the poison from the dart fired by Misogi began to take effect. Satori uses a special technique that takes techniques from all different schools. Nomura decided to undress as well, and the opponent lost control. And Hanasaka, having cut out the poison, also defeats Misogi. Nomura woke up in the women's dormitory clinic. Rin still overcame her hatred for Nomura and wanted to go to him and listen. But there was Mary in the corridor, thinking the same thing. They both think about how to separate themselves to visit him. Satori transferred Nomura to the infirmary and Rin told the whole truth. Rin came to him in the hospital with an apology for the beating. She had complexes about her appearance and Nomura calms her down. She says that her parents thought she was not beautiful. Then Mary came in and tried to apologize with her body. Upon arrival at his dorm, Nomura forgives Kuzuo for his betrayal because he found another seal for him. Nomura collected 4 seals out of 5. The last seal was the hardest to get. Domo got lost somewhere, so Mary didn't go with Nomura today, and Chaka lost her wig. Surprisingly, in the morning in the men's hostel, they complained about the monster in the window. It later turned out to be Domo in a Chaka wig. On the roof, the Empress, the girl from the school fight, meets with Satori, where she accuses her of being lonely and greedy because she humiliated Misobi, who was nearby. The Empress fights with her bare hands and defeats both. Before the loss, it turns out they were sisters. Hanasaka and Kyobo are a little late, but in the end they also lose to the Empress because her body does not get injured. Inaba was the last of the 5 blades whose seal Nomura needed was in the square. Kusuo was afraid of her because she was the most dangerous, whom everyone was afraid of. The headmaster had actually entrusted the responsibility of Nomura to her. It turned out that she was blind, but her attacks were imperceptible due to her speed. On the roof, the violence continued. Hanasaka was blinded. Nomura ran to her screams and seeing so many wounded was shocked. Nono, Choka, Rin, and Mary met the Empress as they also ran towards the screams. They grappled with her, but Inaba intervened. Surprisingly, even with such a high speed, the Empress wounded her and remained unharmed. Being wounded, Inaba wanted to attack again, but she was pushed away by Nomura. Previously, with Nomura, he studied with the Empress at school. His name was Amo, and he was a guy. It was there that they quarreled. The girls tell him to attack with a blow that defeats each of them. Inaba helps him because now she considers him a friend. Deep down, Amo still wants to have Nomura as her friend, but her pride won't let her. Because of the struggle within herself, she cannot decide anything better than to kill him. Nomura does land with her punch, but she is still on her feet. In a fist fight, they do not even try to defend themselves because something old binds them. She does not let him lose because she loves him as much as she wants to kill him. She herself helps him defeat himself. After the battle, Inaba forces him to become her apprentice for the sake of the seal. The director arrives and announces expulsion. Nomura visits Hanasaka with Satori and says goodbye to them. Rin and Mary beg the principal to change their mind. From Inaba, Nomura learns that Amo left the school and headed to the airport. He catches up with him and Amo kisses him and asks him to convey forgiveness for the misunderstanding. The principal joked that now both of them would be watching his every move.